When the Awakeners Academy begins their testing ceremony, every student is called one by one to prove their rank. The professor makes them enter a special portal, and inside that room is a demon heart trained to absorb their energy, measure their strength, and display their current rank and future potential for the whole academy to see. Most of them turn out to be straight-up E-rank trash. Some barely reach D rank and already act like they're the chosen one. Bro, calm down. That's when the academy's top genius finally steps forward. This guy is the rich heir of the strongest guild. So, of course, everyone is watching him like he's already the main character. His friends are hyping him up, saying he will make history and become the #1 genius of the academy. He enters the room completely confident, stands before the demon heart, and unleashes his power. Outside, the students start cheering like crazy. And sure enough, his result appears. High-tier D rank with the potential to reach strength someday. Everyone goes wild. His friends are especially proud, acting like this guy just saved humanity. One of them even turns to a quiet boy named CCH Chun, who is next in line, and laughs at him, saying he will probably embarrass himself. But Chin doesn't even bother answering. Our guy just walks forward. He enters the testing room like everyone else. But the moment he steps near the demon heart, something is already wrong. Chin hasn't even used a single skill yet, but the demon heart starts trembling like it just saw its ancestor. Then the display suddenly lights up. High-tier D rank. The arrogant genius outside also loses that smug look on his face because this humble guy already reached his rank without even trying. Then Chan finally decides to use something, not even his real power, just the weakest skill card he devoured from a monster. The moment he activates it, the rank shoots up to C rank. Now everyone is losing their mind. The students who mocked him can't even speak. The professors are staring at the screen like they are reading it wrong. But our guy is still not done. Sin switches to a stronger class card, and this time the demon heart starts panicking for real. The whole testing room shakes. The sky outside begins to twist, and a storm forms above the academy. Then the rank display glitches. Strength potential. The professors immediately stand up because something like this is already insane. But before they can even react, the single suddenly becomes double S, then triple S, and then the system breaks. Error. Maximum load exceeded. Now the professors are not shocked anymore. They're scared because the demon heart was built to measure talented awakeners, not monsters pretending to be students. So now everyone is wondering the same thing. Who the hell is Chen, and why is this guy so broken? Well, the truth is Chen is not just some normal student. He's a regressor. In his past life, the entire world was conquered by demons. Humanity was pushed to the edge, cities were destroyed, and people were slaughtered until almost no one was left. Cien became the last survivor, fighting alone for years in a ruined world. And after endless battles, he finally reached the Demon King. But even then, there was no clean victory. So Sitchin used everything he had and self-destructed together with the Demon King, dragging that monster down with him. He thought that was the end. But after a blinding light, Chin suddenly opens his eyes inside a school infirmary. This immediately shocks him because he is supposed to be dead. He gets up, looks out the window, and sees normal people walking around like nothing ever happened. No démons, no destruction, no apocalypse. That's when it finally hits him. He returned 10 years into the past back to his university days. As Sitchin tries to understand what is happening, a status screen suddenly appears in front of him, telling him that the power of gluttony has been fully integrated. That is when our guy realizes something even more important. He didn't return to a peaceful future. He returned 3 years before the descent of the Demon Kings. And in 3 years, the first Demon King, Wrath, will appear. He is the one who opens the gates of hell, allowing the other Demon Kings to enter the human world one by one. However, now that he is back, Sikon believes that as long as he can defeat the first Demon King to appear, Wrath, he has a chance to prevent the gates of hell from opening. This is basically a chance for him to change everything. Just then, it dawns on him that the gluttony interface is new because it has been floating in his presence since he woke up. Just then, it displays some game-like data, which reveals that he is currently level 1, and his other stats are all a 100, which is the base level. Sitchin is surprised because this is the first time he has ever seen something like this since he only fought with his awakened power in the past. Basically, only 1 in 10,000 people in the world can become an awakener, and the school he currently attends is one that only recruits potential awakeners, the National Awakening University. However, in his previous life, he didn't awaken in his university days. And for 4 whole years, he stayed at the very bottom of the food chain, which gave everyone the chance to do whatever they liked to him. In fact, this is why he woke up in the infirmary. His current class is the Lightning Assassin, which has a bunch of stars representing his stats like strength and speed. His passive skills are Lightning God and Lightning Blade. The Lightning God infuses the whole body with electricity, instantly increasing movement speed by 10 times. The second is the lightning blade, which condenses electricity into a blade. Attacks have a critical bonus, and striking an enemy's vital point applies a paralysis effect. Sitchin is surprised that he carried over the same class from his previous life, and he is already feeling a surge of power flowing through his body. He wonders if the strength from his past life was carried over. Suddenly, it dawns on him that he might have awakened early, and he decides to test the class by switching to it. He is in the middle of this when the door opens, and a dude, Malong, an E-rank flower chanter, enters the room. Malong rushes over to hug Sitchin, expressing his surprise that the dude is finally awake. He asks him if he is fine, but since Malong is not reacting to the interface, Cien realizes that he is the only one who can see the status window. Malong checks Chin's body, and he is surprised that all of his injuries have healed even though he took a heavy beating the day before. He asks why Cien is recovering fast like an awakener. Apparently, Malong is Chin's roommate, and even though he awakened during their time in the university, he was a bottom tier. In his past life, the dude was tragically killed on the third day of the Demon King's descent. And Chin cannot hold back a smile because the dude is now standing in front of him as if nothing had happened to him. This confirms the fact that he is truly back, and Malong pushes him out of the infirmary, telling him that they have to prepare for the rank test, which is being held the next day. Malong tells Chin that it is crucial to his graduation evaluation, even if he hasn't awakened. As they walk through the campus, Chin sees how lively and calm everything is, and he mentions that it's been a long time since he's seen so many living people. Malong just stares at him weirdly because he has been saying a lot of weird things. Malong sees him walking close to the playground, and he suggests that they walk past it instead of entering. However, Sikhan is thinking about how he has to do something to make sure that history doesn't repeat itself. To do this, he figures out that he has to raise his level pretty fast. To level, he would need to kill monsters and demon layers. But the majority of the demon layers have been monopolized by the great guilds, and outsiders have zero chance to level up. Since his current stats are all sitting on 100, he wonders how strong he is compared to other awakeners and monsters. Apparently, to distinguish power levels, the government has classified awakeners and monsters into ranks, which range from the highest S rank to the lowest A rank. At the moment, most students at the university are stuck at E rank, and only a few geniuses or those with a guild supporting them can reach dank. With his current stats, he can estimate his power level, but he wonders what rank he would get if he took the test. However, he is confident that he is stronger than Malong. They're minding their business when a ball comes flying out of nowhere, hitting Malong in the head, causing him to hit his head on the ground. It turns out that the ball came from a bunch of bullies sitting in the distance. And these are the same guys who sent Sin to the hospital. Malong freaks out when he looks up, and he sees the dude standing there, because this was what he wanted to avoid when he suggested that they take another route. The leader of the gang is a jacked-up dude with an annoying face, and he tells the two to go buy him drinks. Malong bows his head in fear, assuring the dude that he's going to buy the drinks he wanted. However, Chin stops him, telling him that he is not at fault, and the gang of bullies should be the one saying sorry. Chin makes sure to affirm as he leaves his two hands in his pockets while addressing the gang. Just seeing the big guy, Chin remembers unfavorable memories from his past. The dude once pushed his head into the sink, claiming that he was helping him awaken his power. They only let Sitchin go after he fainted, and Malong was the one who rushed over to check on him. Sitchin manages to recover while asking Malong why the dude and his gang have to mess with him. But the moment the dude hears him talking, he turns back to beat him up some more. Now in the present, Sitchin is completely pissed about the events from his previous life. And when he speaks back to the dude loses it. Malong freaks out, and he starts sweating all over while asking Chin if he is trying to get himself killed. Apparently, the dude is Gongshun, and he is an E-rank flower warrior. Chang's arms solidify as he approaches Chan with his gang. Si-chun knows that Chun only dares to bully those who are weaker because his older brother is the strongest and also the student council president. In reality, the dude himself is pretty weak. And the moment the other students Si-chun walk to Si-chun, they assume that Sek-chun is about to get beaten up again. Everyone knows them as the two most useless dudes in the entire school. But Sek-chun doesn't move an inch even as Chang stands tall above him, asking him to repeat what he said. Chan then tells the dude not to bother him and his friend again. But Chung loses it and he throws a heavy punch at Chan. Surprisingly, our guy easily blocks the attack with one hand, and this has enough force to send Chung staggering backward. Everyone freaks out in shock when they see this, because no one expected Chen to be able to block Chang's attack. They start asking questions among themselves about how this is possible since Chen hasn't awakened. Chun loses his mind in anger, asking Chun if an unawakened weakling like him is aiming to challenge him. Just then, Cien lets out an evil smile as his class fully switches to the lightning assassin, and he decides that he is going to test out his skill on Chung. Malong freaks out in shock because he didn't even expect that Cien had awakened. Seeing lightning run through Cien's body, Chung also reinforces his body with his apparently indestructible demon armor. But before he even realizes what is happening, Section reaches him and he punches him in the face while still maintaining a hand in his pocket. The punch carries enough weight, which sends Chung tumbling into the distance before being stopped by a wall. The students scream out in shock because Chung was taken down with a single hit. And even Malong can't believe that the person he is currently staring at is Chen. Chun's face is entirely disfigured, but he still hasn't learned his lesson as he believes that Chen used a sneak attack on him. Chun yells at his gang members, telling them not to just stand there and watch. He wants them to jump Sechen together, but his gang members can see the overwhelming aura radiating from Cien's body, and they know that Cien is more than capable of killing them if they mess up. As Sechen walks up to Chung gets up and throws another punch at Chen, but Chun easily grabs his arm, crushing it. Chun screams in pain, but his suffering is not yet over as Sechen cooks up a powerful left punch that he sends into the dude's chest, shattering almost every bone in his body. Chung is sent flying into the wall with his clothes all torn up. He crashes into the wall really hard, and he passes out with his entire body totally bloodied. Malong is left in complete astonishment while wondering when Chen became that strong. After taking Chong down, Cien confirms that he can switch classes whenever he wants. Even though he is still a level 1 player with the system, he realizes that his strength is enough to deal with the lowest level awakeners, which means he is currently above E rank. However, he still doesn't know his exact rank, but he also wonders why there's no increase in his stats, even though he already defeated Chun. A wild idea suddenly comes to his mind, and he conjures a lightning spear as he walks toward Chung, aiming to finish him off. Malong and the other students freak out when they see this, and they urge him to calm down and not go through with what he is about to do. Even Chung, who was knocked out before, wakes up when he sees a lightning dagger on his throat, ready to tear his neck apart. Just then, a blonde-haired pretty lady shows up on the scene, urging Cien to chill out because Chung has received enough punishment. It turns out that the girl is Ling Yu, vice president of the student council, and she assures Cien that with what he's done, Chung will never dare to come after him again. Cien lets Chun go, wondering if Ling Yu is eager to step in to protect him. But nonetheless, he has no intention to kill Chung. However, he had to show the dude that he can't keep coming after him. Meanwhile, Chang's minions are freaking out where they are hiding, and seeing how scary Sechen is, they make a vow never to bother him again unless they want to die. Everyone has always known the two as the weakest and poorest losers in the whole school, but the way everyone sees them has suddenly changed. When Malong returns to the dormitory, he tells their other two roommates that Sitchin has awakened, and he adds the fact that he is a super strong lightning assassin. Malong tells the other two that Sechin beat Chong up, and with this, his gang would never disturb them again. One of the roommates, Zhang Zhou, who is an E-rank nucleus mage, doesn't entirely believe Malong, and he asks Malong where Cien is. He yells at Malong, asking him why Ci Chun has run off when he is pretty strong, just like Malong claimed. The other dude, Xiang Yu, who is an E-rank flower chanter, agrees with Zhua, saying Chin must have been beaten to a pulp, which is why he went into hiding. Malong stands in silence while Zhua yells at him, reminding him that they were all put in the same dorm room because their ranks are the bottom 4 the entire year. Zhua mentions that he is 4th from the bottom, which means he is the leader in the dorm. He boasts about how he is the only combat nucleus mage in the entire room, telling Malong that he and the others are just there to support him. Zhua talks about how weak Sechin is, so there is no way he is a lightning assassin. He mentions that he, on the other hand, has been getting stronger in recent times, so he might even get the chance to squeeze into a club. Zhang Yu reminds them that the next day is the final rank test before graduation evaluation, and everything will become clear by then. Later that day, Gongqing, Chong's brother, and also the student council president, just stepped out of an E-rank training demon lair when he ran into his brother, whose body was covered in bandages. Chung tells his brother that he won't have peace of mind if he doesn't avenge him because Sechin basically beat him in front of everyone, which basically means he has no respect for Ting. Ting subtly assures Chung that he is going to help him handle the whole thing. Later on, Ting meets with Ling Yu, and she asks him how he plans to handle the situation. Ting asks her if it is true that Sitchin is stronger than Chung, and she reminds him that he has recruited the entirety of those who are dank in the school. She adds that others don't even have the opportunity to access demon layers like him. So there is no way stupid mediocre awakeners like Chan can improve. Ling Yu praises him highly, telling him that no one can actually catch up to his pace. While they're having this meeting, Chin is running in the rain, carrying 100 weights on his back to make it more grueling. Apparently, basic training can improve physical quality, and it is known that an awakener's upper limit is directly related to their physical strength. Only with a strong body can one harden and unleash extreme class powers. But he knows that with his current strength, he has a long way to go. In the year 2160, Wrath would leave the demon lair and descend upon the world. And within the blink of an eye, he would kill a large number of humans. Even Chan's sister died at Wrath's hands. And he was also the one who opened the gates of hell for all the other demon kings to enter the human realm. With this, Sitchin figures out that his first plan is to kill Wrath, who is the beginning of all the destruction. Since there are only 3 years before Wrath shows up, Sikhan figures out that he must be growing at an alarming rate, which is why he has to grow faster than him. Just then, his phone rings, and when he checks it, it turns out to be his sister, Si-Yun, who is worried because she just returned from a competition only to find a bunch of missed calls from her brother. Yun tells Sitchin that if she manages to win the competition, their lives will change for the better. Si-Yun was so overwhelmed that he couldn't even speak. He remembers praying for everything to start over in his previous life when his sister and everyone else died. Yin then asks him why he is not saying anything, because the only thing she can hear is the noise of raindrops hitting the ground. Si-Yen simply tells his sister that it is nothing while internally making a vow to protect his sister, no matter the cost. Chan just tells his sister that it is nice to hear her voice, and the lady assures her that they're going to talk much better after the conversation. Late into the night, Si-Yen finally returns to his dorm, and this is 8 hours after he returned to the past. His roommates are already asleep, and he steps in a bathroom to wash up while realizing that he is slowly adapting to his body. He figures out that he has to think about the most critical issue, which is leveling up, and this requires entering demon layers. However, the demon layers are monopolized by guilds. And aside from the powerful and wealthy, most people have no chance to level up. Chan lies on his bed and sleeps off while thinking of how he is supposed to find monsters to defeat and level up. In addition, he still doesn't know what the power of gluttony does, and just as he closes his eyes to sleep, the system finishes loading and Sikhan finds himself getting thrown into the gluttony system. Sitchin lands in a weird space where there is a tall tower in front of him, leaving him totally confused. He looks around, and he sees monsters emerging from the weird red-colored river surrounding him. Sechin quickly switches classes, aiming to take on the monsters because it appears that he has found himself in a demon lair. Even though he doesn't know what is happening just yet, he plans to take out the monsters that have surrounded him. The E-rank monsters dash toward him, but he cuts through them at lightning speed. He delivers precise cuts that finish off the monsters with little to no effort. Cien is not worried, because he knows that with his current strength, E-rank monsters are child's play. Seeing how real everything is thanks to the experience points and the loot he is accumulating, he figures out that it is as real as it can get. After killing so many monsters, he finally moves up a level to level 2. Sitchin smiles because this tells him that he can gain experience and level up in the demon lair. Each of his stats has also increased by 5 points, and Chan lets out a bright smile because he just found himself a demon lair that he can take on solo. While he is thinking about this, one of the monsters tries to land a sneak attack on him, but he slices the monster in half while figuring out that he would basically use the lair to test his limits. Sitchin continues cutting through the monsters, and in no time, he reaches level 3. Sikhan is surprised at the fact that he is actually leveling up in such a short time, and suddenly the system displays an option for him to devour the monster boss that he just defeated, leaving him surprised. He starts to realize that this is the true power of gluttony. And just then, he stretches his hand forward to consume the monster's essence. Upon absorbing the monster's essence, another class card appears on the scene. This is a class that grants him immunity to cold, and his resistances are increased in low-temperature environments. Sin is surprised that the monster was absorbed into a card, which tells him that he can devour his enemies after he has killed them, so he can turn them into his own classes. Suddenly, it dawns on him that this is the same skill that Len Yu had, and it appears that he has seized it for himself. It is known that classes are born with everybody, and one can only possess one class. However, as it stands, it appears that he can possess 2 classes simultaneously. However, it doesn't end there, because if he can devour other monsters, he is going to possess infinite classes. This leaves him wondering why he obtains such a crazy power, which leads him to ask what the demonic tower behind him is for. Suddenly, the ground starts to shake, and he is crippled with an immense aura that hits the surroundings. This leaves Chan freaking out as he cannot understand what is happening. Just then, a dude with 2 demonic great swords appears in the distance, telling Chin that he is glad that he's finally awake because he has been waiting for him a long time. The dude looks really intimidating with bandages over his body and his eyes glow brightly. The immense pressure knocking Chun to the ground lets him know that he is in trouble. He remembers that in his past life, he struggled hard before he could reach Sh rank, but in the current era, he is D rank at most. To make it worse, the enemy that just appeared in front of him looks like an S rank boss at least. Sin can see that the gap in levels is just too wide, and his stats are currently being crushed by standing in front of the boss monster alone. A lot of questions start running through his head, like what kind of demon lair he has found himself in, and why there is an S rank monster there. In addition, he is curious to know how the monster knew his name. Moments later, Cien realizes that the enemy could have one-shot him if he wanted, because with the blows they have traded, he has just been toying with him. However, every time the dude hits him, he doesn't hit him hard, and he also makes sure to avoid his vitals. The dude is just knocking him around the battlefield, and just then the dude expresses his surprise that Sitchin is still standing. This leaves Chin wondering if the dude wants him to submit, and the enemy tells Sitchin to rethink the choices he has given him. Basically, he wants him to either stay and guard the demonic tower with him, claiming that it is a rare opportunity, but Sikon outright rejects the offer, saying there is no way he is going to stay in the hellhole. He hasn't finished saying this when a sword slash cuts through his left arm, spilling blood everywhere. The scary dude asks Chen if he thinks he is not going to kill him, telling Chen that he has only been patient with him because he is the only one who is capable of coming to the gluttony space. Chen then spots the life force of the monsters in the area traveling toward the scary dude as his power level shoots through the roof as he tells Chen that he's going to ask him the question one last time. Even the ground is pulled apart and formed into boulders which are aimed at Chen to crush him. The dude tells him to stay in the weird gluttony space or be crushed into a pulp. But this only triggers Chen's anger further. Lightning runs through his body as he dashes toward the dude, telling him that he chooses to kill him. Sitchin runs through the boulders while making his way toward the dude. Apparently, Chen has analyzed the dude's fighting pattern during their couple of exchanges. He realizes that before every swing, the dude has a 0.4 second wind-up. And with this, he can use the slight delay to observe the angle of his wrist so he can predict the path and dodge the dude's blade. Just as planned, he runs through the dude's strike, giving him the chance to appear behind him. As Sitchin prepares to put everything into one overwhelming attack, he admits that he is doing this because the dude has a 0.2 second recovery lag, which is enough for him to strike. Sitchin does everything as planned, and he reaches the dude before he recovers, and he pushes his dagger into his chest to pierce his heart. Sitchin had used the lightning blade, which condenses electricity into a blade that delivers paralysis. Even though he knows that he can't kill the dude, since he is a D rank and the enemy is Sh rank, he believed that the paralysis from his full power burst should hold the enemy for a few seconds for him to escape. Cien then pulls back and he activates the lightning god skill that increases his movement speed 10 times. He dashes through the battlefield as lightning trails his path like the Flash while aiming to get to the exit in the few seconds that he has. During the fight, he has been observing the area and he's noticed that the only light source in the entire area is the one he is running toward, which shows that it is the exit. Just as he is about to jump into the light source, it vanishes right in front of him, leaving him trapped with the scary dude. The dude pushes his swords into the ground, generating enough force to cause a mini-quake while telling Chin that what he was running toward was just an illusion he left there and letting him know that there is no exit from the demon lair. The dude is now more pissed than ever as dark energy courses through his body. But he commends Sitchin for the fact that he was able to find the flaws in his attacks quickly. Suddenly, he calms down as he tells Sitchin that he is the only one who can bring hope. Finally, his name is displayed, and it turns out to be Purgatory Roshesa, an S-rank star warrior. With Roshesa's hood burn off by his aura, Sitchin finally gets to see his face, and he is surprised because he has seen this appearance before, and it was on Lanyu, the leader of the Demon Kings. Rakshasa commends Shin for being able to calmly analyze his opponent, even in the face of danger. The first time Cien had seen this appearance was when he fought Lanyu, and during this fight, Lanyu had switched between several high-rank classes with ease, making the battle unbearable for Cien. Among the many forms that the Demon King changed into was the current form he is looking at. It was an appearance that had 2 curved horns bulging out of the head. This leaves Cien wondering if the dude was devoured by Lanu's power of gluttony. And since he now has the gluttony power inside his body, it basically means the demon lair is inside him. Rakshasa is impressed by how he is able to quickly figure out what is going on, and he commends him for it. He tells him that he has proven himself to be worthy of everything that the demon lair holds. Cien is still confused by this, and just then Rakshasa whips out an SSS rank key that is called the Key of the Void, which is the only key to the gates of the demonic tower. Rakshasa lets him know that the key he is staring at is the only key to the tower. While revealing that Lanyu once devoured numerous ferocious demons, he tells him that the strongest of the demons have been sealed in the tower that stands behind him. He gives Scene the key, telling him to devour them all to grow stronger. Scene asks Rakshasa why he is doing what he is doing, which is basically helping him. And Rakshasa mentions that among the demon race, there's a line between good and evil. He reveals that the demon kings slaughtered his entire kin just to satisfy their own greed, and he's been waiting for a long time to get revenge on them. He tells Chin that he finally has the chance to do so, and the very chance he is talking about is Chin. Rakshasa says something strange, saying a particular guy is right, because it appears that only Section can succeed. Chan is left completely in shock, asking Rakshasa who he is talking about, and Rakshasa tells him that all the answers he wants are hidden within the tower. So he just has to enter to find them himself. Just then, Rakshasa starts to dissipate for Sitchin to take his power. Cien freaks out in shock when he hears this, and Rakshasa tells Sitchin that from that moment, he must make sure he is unstoppable, before finally turning into an energy essence. He tells Chin that he must open the gates of the demonic tower to devour everything inside. However, he tells Chin that the demons inside the tower won't go easy on him as he did, because they're the most cunning and vicious entities in existence. However, he urges Chin to endure everything and conquer the tower. He lets him know that it is his job to stand at the very peak of the world until he has devoured every single one of the demon kings. He finally turns into essence, revealing that he doesn't regret the fact that he is giving Sitchin his power, because he is a man with unmatched resolve. So he is the only one who deserves his power. Upon devouring Rakshasa, Sitchin levels up to level 10, and he is informed that he has obtained Rakshasa's 2 swords too. Sitchin then promises Rakshasa that he is going to carry his will with him. And as the devouring settles in, the power card appears on the screen. He has 2 skills, which are the Bone Grip Ruin and Triple Gravity Strike. The Bone Grip Ruin absorbs the stamina and strength of nearby corpses, converting them into the user's own power. The Triple Gravity Strike, on the other hand, manipulates gravity to attack enemies in 3 forms, which are light, heavy, and overload. Seeing Rakshasa's determination, Sitchin promises to make their enemy pay with blood. Just then, he hears his roommates screaming at him to wake up. He gets up and realizes that it is already morning and his roommates are preparing for the rank test. Sitchin is surprised at how fast he got back to the dorm, and in addition, his wounds have completely healed. He wonders if everything that happened was a dream. But just then, he notices that the 2 power cards he obtained in the demon lair are still reflecting on the status window. This lets him know that everything he went through was real, because even the loot he got in the dream came back with him. In a single night, he made it to level 10, and he wonders what rank he will currently be classified as. Just then, Zwa walks up to him with a mocking face, telling him that Malong was talking big about him the night before. He asks Sun if he's planning to take over his reign as the leader of the dorm, and he suggests that they head to the rank test so he can see what he is made of. Moments later, the 4 finish dressing up, and as they head to the arena where the test is being held, Zua reminds the other 3 that they might all be E ranks. But he is mid-E rank, unlike them, who are low E rank. He munches on a dough while claiming that the gap between each tier is massive. So, this means he can take on 10 low rank E rank at the same time. Zua jumps up in joy, saying his rank might have shot up since the last test. And Malong suddenly tells Chan to make sure he gives his all in the test. He wants him to aim for D rank at least so he can scare the hell out of him. Sitchin acknowledges his suggestion to make it to Dank. Not long after this, they arrive at the arena, and Zwa is surprised that most of the students are already there. Just then, they spot Chung's lackeys walking toward them, and they start freaking out. While the others are freaking out, Chen stands unfazed without any care in the world. Zwa and the other 2 are about to sink into the ground in fear when a lackey suddenly bows to Cien while addressing him as their big brother. Zwa is left in shock as he asks why they are suddenly being respectful to Cien, and Malong reminds him that he told him everything that Chen did. Instead of acknowledging those who are bowing to him, Cien ignores them and walks away. Just then, he runs into a rude dude, Jiang Jian, who tells Cien that he heard everything he did to Chun the day before. Jian yells at Cien, asking him if he knows who Chun is. He reminds Chen that Chun is Ting and LT, Unk and GT's junior brother. While Jian is busy yelling at Chun, Zwa and the others are hiding in the distance, wondering why John is now targeting Chen. Jian moves closer to Chen to whisper in his ear, telling him that he has a unique sense of smell, so he can smell a true strong warrior from a mile away. However, he doesn't smell anything impressive from Chen, and he tells Sitchin that what he smells from him is the stench of a permanent bottom feeder. Chen ends his entire ego by asking him if he is a freaking dog, and this almost makes Jan lose his mind. He yells at Cien, asking him to repeat what he just said. But before he can hit Chen, Ting arrives on the scene, telling Jian to back off. Ting mentions that he has already investigated what happened, and it appears that Chung was the one who offended first. So, it is only right to pay the price for doing something wrong. Jian backs off just as Ting ordered, and he and Chen lock eyes intently. Just then, one of the old examiners came up to the stage to tell them that the grade test would begin shortly. He mentions that they're going to conduct the test in order of student number. So he suggests that they come up to the stage in an orderly manner when they hear their name. Ting then tells John that they should prepare for the grade test first, because deep down Ting believes that Sitchin is not a threat. Meanwhile, Ling Yu and one particular strange man are watching the test from a distance. The man asks Ling Yu if she is there to watch the test because she has discovered someone worth paying attention to, and Ling Yu lets him know that the test is going to be quite interesting. An hour later, Zhua is called to the stage to take the test. He steps into the test portal with the intention of giving it his all to see if there's been any improvement whatsoever. Apparently, the test is always conducted individually within a specially made training demon layer. And inside this training demon layer is a demon heart that is capable of absorbing energy. The Awakener needs to release all their energy in front of the demon heart to charge it to the maximum. This demon heart will then transmit the sensed energy to external equipment via cables, and then the energy will be presented on the screen in the form of data. Zhuo puts his all into it, and when the data is displayed on the screen for everyone to see, it appears that he is still a mid-tier E rank. However, the main event is when the potential is displayed, and when Zhuo's potential is finally displayed, it turns out to be C rank. Apparently, people with high potential have a very high probability of receiving key attention from a state. But with Zhuo's mid-tier C rank potential, he has no shot at it. Zhuo walks out of the grading room in disappointment because he was expecting to have improved a bit. He returns to the back in tears while Ma Long tries to console him, reminding him that they are even weaker. They remind him that they can't reach D grade just like him, and this is because they have done their own tests, too. Apparently, Ma Long and Xiong Yu can't go past low-tier C rank. They were wondering if there wouldn't be a higher grade that year when a student's potential hits bank. The girl runs out of the grading room in excitement because she is dank and her potential is B rank. Not long after this, Jin checks his grade. He walks out with pride because his current rank is D rank while his potential is a rank. Ma Long and his peers start crying their eyes out because Jin is the 8th D rank of the day while they are still stuck on E rank. Even the examiners are impressed with the fact that there are so many D grade talents that year, even with the fact that they have no real combat experience. Because of this, the examiners believe that the year's graduation combat assessment will be worth watching. Ting is then called to the stage, and everyone is hyped to see what his rank is going to be. Ting is believed to be the chosen one since he is the young master of the Imperial Guild. In the first test that was conducted 2 years back, he actually reached D rank. And with this, they wonder what level he has reached after 2 years. Upon entering the grading room, Ting decides to hold back with the intention of revealing his full strength during the graduation combat assessment, so he can cause a huge sensation at this time. However, he plans to come out as the number 1 in the school's history. After releasing energy into the demon's heart, his rank and potential are displayed on the screen. It measures that he is currently a high-tier D rank, while his potential is shrank. The crowd goes wild when they see this, and they start grabbing their heads in shock since Ting is the first in the school's history. John is among those who are singing Ting's accolades, but CCH Shun is not even moved one bit. The examiners are left in awe, too, and they plan to report the result to the superiors. Basically, an awakener with shrank potential is a rare treasure in the world. So, it is pretty obvious that the state is going to be focused on him and protect him. As if this isn't enough, he is also the son of the Imperial Guild leader, and they know that this will make national headlines. The strange man watching the test alongside Ling Yu admits that the year's test is proving to be impressive. He teases Ling Yu, asking if she already knows that Ting is going to be S rank, which is why she came to watch. It turns out that the strange man is Yuan Long, and he is the principal of a university. Ling Yu then tells the man that she didn't come for Ting only, and she mentions that she is looking forward to Xian's performance even more than that of Ting. Just then, Sitchin is called to the stage to test his rank. As Sitchin walks to the stage, John teases him, telling him to bring some honor to his dorm and to make sure he doesn't come out with another low-tier E rank. John laughs at Sitchin, telling him that if he ends up being E rank, he and his roommates are going to be the biggest laughingstock in the whole university. He tells Chan that he and his friends will be nothing but a disgrace at the graduation assessment test. Malong manages to pull together some courage, and he tells John not to worry because Chen is definitely going to shock everyone. As he enters the grading room, Zhuo wonders if Sitchin can really do it. The moment the demon eyes spot Sin, its expression changes. It is pretty obvious that in their current era, an awakener needs to prove their worth to the high-tier guilds to secure the best future. Talking about the graduation assessment, it is a squad of up to 10 members, and candidates are free to choose their own team members. The squad that takes first place will have every one of their members recruited by the nation's top-tier guild, the Imperial Guild. The test is not just about determining one's rank, because it has a far bigger purpose than this. While Chin is still taking his test, John is already recruiting members to Ting's team in preparation for the graduation assessment. Basically, all 9 Dankied Students of the Year are on their team. So, John is confident that they're going to come out on top with Ting and Chung in the team. The purpose of the rant test is basically to know who to invite to one's team. While Jin and the others are celebrating that they are the biggest team, Malong and his roommates are standing in one corner thinking about how they are the definition of a weak team. Moments later, they start wondering why there's been no movement whatsoever from Chan, who has been in the grading room for a while. The students are already making fun of him, claiming his power is so trash that the machine couldn't even detect it. Since he is among the last students to be graded, the students are already making plans to return to their dorm as they believe the grading is already done and dusted. Jan even tells Ting not to waste his time, and they should find a place for some karaoke. Ting agrees to this, and just as they're about to move, the screen starts to glitch, preparing to display Chen's rank. By the time the rank comes on, everyone almost loses their minds because it turns out to be a high-tier D rank. Malong goes crazy, screaming at the top of his voice, telling everyone that he wasn't wrong. Even Ting and Jian are shocked when they see this. Back in the grading room, Sitchin pulls back from feeding the demon heart energy, and the system detects the instability in the demon heart, telling Sitchin to retake the test so his potential can be displayed. It turns out that Sitch only used his basic class, and he is surprised that his level 10 base stats are equivalent to high D rank. He then decides to switch classes to the Infernal Death King, which is currently his weakest devoured class. He retakes the test, and this time around, it changes into a C rank, leaving everyone to lose their minds. Even Ting and John cannot believe what they are staring at. John wants to believe that there is something wrong with the machine. Even the examiners are left confused as to why the rank keeps changing since they have never seen something like this before. Just then, the system tells them that there's been another anomaly, and Chan has to retake the test. Meanwhile, the demon heart is already freaking out, and Sitchin figures out that his 2 other classes will be above Kank since his weakest classes are pretty strong as they are. Sitchin then switches classes to Rakshasa because he would like to see the full extent of his true power. The demon heart almost shatters when it sees this, and even the sky suddenly becomes cloudy, leaving everyone to start questioning what exactly is happening. Malong and the other 2 are overwhelmed, and they conclude that their dorm has given birth to a god-tier monster. Just then, the screen glitches, and it displays an S-rank potential that shocks everyone to their bones. But the S-rank doesn't stay long as it starts to glitch repeatedly while displaying a warning sign. It soon displays a triple S-rank potential, and it appears that it wants to display more. But the system loses its functionality with a warning that it has exceeded the system's maximum load. The machine goes up in flames as the examiners rush over in shock in an attempt to make sure that Chen is safe. Upon entering the grading room, they are left with something unprecedented. The demon heart is burned out, leaving them wondering if it did because of overusage. Chen turns around and walks off, but he is the only one who knows what happened to the demon heart. Apparently, he pushed too hard and choked the demon heart to death. However, he got something surprising out of it, and this is the fact that he was able to devour the demon's heart. Apparently, the demon heart is an A-rank creature, and it can perceive the power rank of all things within a 100m radius. It also provides danger warnings if a threat enters the range. Upon stepping out of the grading room, Chan activates the demon heart, and, just as expected, he is able to see the rank of everyone he is staring at. Sechin admits that it is pretty convenient, because he can use this to see the rank of everyone around him. He checks out Ting's rank, and it turns out that he is actually mid-tier C rank, but intentionally hid his true strength. Just then, the examiners step out with the dead demon heart, saying the demon heart died due to excessive strain. And because of this, they suspend the testing for the day. The examiners mentioned that Chen's data might be in error, so they're going to report it to the higher-ups. The examiners told those who hadn't been tested to come back the next day, promising that they would have a new device ready by then. Malong and the other 2 rush towards Sitchin, worshipping him. They even ask him what he wants to eat, and Sitchin suggests that they just return to their dorm. Just then, John shows up with his loud mouth, saying he already knew that the machine was glitching because there is no way a loser like Chan would reach Kank. Jian continues yelling at Chan, asking him what he plans to do to the demon heart that he broke. He continues saying all the trash things while Chen just debates whether he should him because he is always talking. Just then, Ting appears from behind, telling John to stand down because they can't be disrespectful toward their teammate. Jan is shocked when Ting addresses Sitchin as a teammate, and he is still trying to recover from this when Ting stretches his hand to Sitchin, offering him a chance to join his squad so that they can tackle the graduation assessment together. Ting tells Chin that the highest score in history is going to belong to them, and Chin stares at him weirdly as he makes his offer. Jin starts freaking out because he knows that if Chin joins the team, someone has to be kicked out of the team. This leaves him worried because he has no idea how he is going to explain this to his kinsman. It is not hidden knowledge that joining Ting's team guarantees first place in a graduation combat assessment. Jian is pissed at the mere thought that Sitchin gets to join when a lot of people have even offered bribes but have not been able to join. However, he knows that he can't go against Ting and LT, Unk and GT's wishes, and Jian tries to act all friendly with Cien. He wears an obvious fake friendly face while tapping Cien on the shoulders, welcoming him to the team. Without hesitation, Cien slaps his hand off, telling him that he is not interested in joining their team. Ting and Jian are shocked by Cien's refusal, and Jian starts screaming at Chen, telling him that they're the top dogs of the school, and he is basically making a mistake by rejecting them. Cien confidently tells the dude that whatever there doesn't concern him, and he walks off telling them not to bother him from that moment forward, because they are pretty noisy. As he walks off, the other students cannot believe that Sitchin actually has the courage to refuse Ting, the all-powerful student council president. Some believe that Chen plans to reach the top by himself since his test result was mid-tier C rank. Nonetheless, the students are hyped up to see what is going to happen in the end. Ting then tells John to chill out, letting him know that Chen already has his own ideas. Meanwhile, Long expresses his disappointment that the two couldn't team up because he was looking forward to a new school history record that very year. Lingyu tells him that the whole situation is more interesting the way it is because Ting was born with a silver spoon and Chen refusing him is a clear declaration of war. Lingyu tells Long that Ting isn't someone who is easy to deal with. Meanwhile, Jin is still raging about the whole thing and he believes that Section only got the limelight because of test error. However, Ting tells him that there's a possibility that the test wasn't wrong. Ting tells Jin that even if there's only a 1 in a 100 million chance, he can't allow anyone else to take away his first place. Jin mentions that Chin is just a loser student with no combat experience, while they, on the other hand, are elites who have secretly battled in the demon lair with Ting several times. Jin suggests that he go teach a lesson on Ting's behalf, but Ting scolds him for assuming that he is such a petty person. Jin quickly apologizes for speaking out of turn, and Ting walks off telling him that he is not in the mood for karaoke that day. He tells John that he and the team members are free to arrange things themselves. However, he lets Jan know that anything he does has nothing to do with him. The moment Jin hears this, he takes the hint that Ting has given him the free hand to deal with Chen. 10 minutes later, Jin learns from one of his lackeys that Chan isn't in school. Apparently, he had gone home, and the moment John heard this, he decided to take action because Section was outside the school, which was the best place. On the other hand, Chan is minding his business as he walks through the streets, thinking about his past life. He remembers that it was a guild that first ran into Wrath inside a demon lair, and the guild team was wiped out. After this, Wrath left the dungeon and descended on the human world. This is basically everything he knows as of the moment. And to know where Wrath is in the current life, Chan has formulated a plan. However, to start this plan, he needs a large sum of money, and he heads to the Myethal Monster Exchange under the Myethal Guild, which will later become the country's largest material exchange in the future. The weapons and equipment in the hands of Awakeners are key elements determining their strength. The Monster Exchange is the necessary transit station for buying and selling equipment. It is also the fastest way for Sikken to get money. As it stands, Chen walks to the counter to present the monster teeth he obtained from the demon lair. The attendant attending to him doesn't take him too seriously because he can see that Sitchin is a student. He tells Sitchin that he has never seen teeth like this before. But the junior attendant, a pink-haired lady, figures out that it is a drop item from the E-rank cloud-type monster. She mentions that according to records, the fangs can be made into an E-rank cloud-type scepter or ground into powder. The rude attendant tells the lady to stop lecturing, and he says there is nothing serious that an E-rank item can do. He mentions that their exchange has always been about the VIP system, and whatever passes through his hands must be high-grade goods of dank and above. He claims this is why he doesn't recognize the E-rank loot. Deep down, the dude is worried about when he's going to be promoted to supervisor because there have been too few high-grade customers of late. He is pissed about the fact that he is always encountering dudes who will provide no benefit for him. He then decides to just push the order to his junior attendant, Lee. As he walks off, he tells Lee to work hard, claiming that he has high hopes for her. Lee then calculates Chin's money, and she presents it to him, telling him to keep it safe. It turns out that the fangs were valued at 18,000, and Sitchin realizes that this is enough to settle the rent in the meantime. Lee asks him if there is anything he needs, and Sitchin whips out one of Roche's greatswords, telling her to take a look at it. Lee freaks out in shock when she sees the quality of the greatsword. She admits that she's never seen it, but she believes it is going to be at least B rank or even a rank. The rude attendant rushes back when he sees this as he talks about how expensive a grade items are. He mentions that he has been at the guild for so many years and hasn't encountered one before. Just then, a blue-haired man shows up on the scene, telling the dude that he is right because the sword they're looking at is not a B grade or even an A grade. The rude attendant immediately put on the best behavior while addressing the blue-haired man as his boss. The boss mentions that the sword is definitely from the Purgatory lands, and as it stands, it is an S-grade equipment. The attendants almost lose their minds when they hear this, and the boss immediately shakes Chan's hands, welcoming him as a distinguished guest. He tells Chen to follow him to the VIP room, while assuring Cien that he is free to mention any request that he might have. It turns out that Cien actually recognizes the boss from his past life, Ching Shi. Upon arriving at Shi's private chambers, he asks Chan how he plans to handle the equipment, and Chan answers that he wants 1 million. She is surprised that he is willing to sell the equipment for just 1 million, telling him that the item is worth tens of millions since it shrank. In fact, Z mentions that he could use it to trigger a frenzy among buyers, which shows how priceless it is. However, Sek-shun tells him that what he wants is to use the sword as collateral for a loan of 1 million, which he's going to pay back in full after 1 month. She is shocked to learn that Sik-shun wants to use an S-rank weapon as collateral for a loan. And this basically tells him that there is no way a random college student would come up with such a brazen idea. Since Chen has no intention of selling the sword, she wonders if he plans to use it himself later. A lot of questions run through his mind as he wonders if Chen is the son of a noble family who is hiding his strength. However, with everything he's seen so far, he can categorically say that Chan is not a regular dude. Sun assures Z that he's going to pay back in 1 month and will even add 10% interest to it the following month. He asks Z what he thinks about the deal, and before he answers, Z tells Lee to leave the room. Z then mentions that with his deduction, it appears that Chan is attending the National Awakening University and he is about to graduate. GI says he is aware that the university holds its graduation combat assessment every year, and the year's assessment happens to be exactly 1 month from that day. In addition, the prize money for the first place winner is 1 million, which aligns perfectly with his repayment date and the amount. Z says that with everything so far, it appears that Chan is confident that he's going to take first place in the assessment. GI mentions that he can see how desperate Chan is for money because he can just wait for a month to get the prize money, but he decides to mortgage an S-rank item. However, with all the conclusions he's come to, he tells Chan that he's going to give him 1.5 million in cash immediately. To make it sweeter, he tells him that it is going to be interest-free, and he tells Chen to consider this a gesture of friendship. Cien is surprised to hear this, and Z assures him that he is going to keep everything that happened between them a secret. However, if Sitchin has any new trading needs, Z wants him to consider his organization first, promising to offer him the highest tier of privileges. Chen is impressed with the fact that Z was able to deduce his background demands from practically zero information. Even after figuring out his predicament, he offered better terms to seek long-term cooperation instead of taking advantage of him. Cien finally understands why Z was able to build his organization into the world's #1 exchange in the future. Chan figures out that he has to make reliable partners if he wants to eliminate Wrath. Z then forms the mana contract, and he transfers the money into Chen's account. Just then, Z asks Chen which weapon he plans to use during the graduation assessment, since he has mortgaged his S-rank weapon. Z lets Chen know that they have a bunch of weapons that he can use even though they are not S-rank. Cien shocks Z and Lee and the rude attendant when he tells them that there is no need for this. He whips out the second sword, telling them that he has another one. As Sitchin leaves, they greet him with all honor, and Z immediately promotes Lee to the position of supervisor, since she was the one who attended to Chan. This leaves the rude attendant with a lesson he cannot forget. Just then, Sitchin turns around, telling Z that there is something he needs to buy. Later on, Sitchin opts out of the taxi at a train station. He thinks about how money has always been the biggest problem in his past life. When he graduated in his past life, no guild was ready to accept him, and he worked desperately at menial jobs that he could get his hands on just to pay the rent. He and his sister lived the worst lives. Yin once got admission to the International Central Academy of Arts, but she tore the letter, saying it was too far. Yin tells Yin that all she wants is to stay with her brother forever. Basically, she did this because she didn't want to become a burden. Moments later, Cien starts wondering why Yin hasn't stepped out of the station. Just then, he hears his sister calling his name from behind, reminding him that he should always stay at the exit, not the entrance, whenever he is there to pick her up. Yin asks her brother if he is confused from overworking himself again. Seeing his sister alive and well, Sikhan freezes in shock, trying to understand if he is seeing things right. It isn't until Yin challenges him, asking him if he is seeing right, that he finally drags his sister in to hug her. Si-chun smiles brightly because he finally got to see his sister again after 7 years. Yin almost chokes out from how much he is hugging her, and she tickles him really hard before dumping her bag on him. Yin mentions that Chan has been acting weird for the past couple of days, and she teases him, asking if he confessed to a girl, but got rejected instead. Chan tells her that he didn't, and she suggests that they start heading home. As they walk through the street, Chan is drawn in by his sister's beautiful smile, and he promises that he is never going to allow anything bad to happen to his sister this time around. Meanwhile, Jian and his lackey are already setting up an ambush for Si-chun, since they know the only road he's going to take when he is heading home. Jian heavily tells his boys to beat Si-chun the moment he shows his face because he wants him to take the consequences of crossing him. One of the lackeys then reminds Jian that they brought too many people from the student council, and he fears that if they hit Si-chun too hard, they might kill him. Jian mentions that his original plan was to teach Si-chun a lesson, but he claims his attitude has gotten on his nerves. John wants him beaten half to death, and also to him, because he wants to make sure he can't participate in the graduation assessment in 2 weeks. John boasts about the bad things he's going to do to Si-chun, since he is one of the top-tier cloud assassins in the entire school. Meanwhile, Yin tells Si-chun that he has been acting weird in the past couple of days, and she asks him if it is because of the pressure from the graduation assessment. Yin tries to motivate her brother, telling him that no matter what, he has to pull himself together because this is the same advice he once gave her. Yin mentions that life is a long road and opportunities will definitely come later. She even takes it as far as singing for her brother just to motivate him. Cien is impressed by how sensitive she is because she basically noticed the change in him the moment they met. Cien knows that his sister doesn't even know that he has awakened yet, and she must think they are still living as paupers. Deep down, Yin thinks her brother is not comfortable talking to her because she's a girl. Meanwhile, Jian and his guys are still in hiding, and they are surprised when they see a girl with him. However, the rotten Jian says this is even more perfect for them since there are no cameras in the alley, which means they can do what they want in. Just then, Chen catches on to the evil aura emanating from the gang, and he immediately figures out that it is the student council. Chen can't believe that they actually dared to come after him and his sister. Si-chun then removes his ear pods and inserts them in Yun's ears, telling her that there is a song he wants her to listen to. Yin is surprised because she didn't know her brother was a music person, but she doesn't argue about her brother's decision. She figures out that this would help her understand her brother a little bit better. While Yin is enjoying the music and her back is turned toward danger, Chen walks toward the council members. The council members rush towards him, but Chen switches to his lightning assassin class as he prepares to engage them. He remembers how he lost his last family member in his past life, and he only got to see her again after he returned from death. Sikhan is overwhelmed with anger because this is his first reunion with his sister, but they dare ruin it. The first dude that gets close gets kicked in the head, and he is sent flying with his head crashing to the ground, shocking the rest of the team. However, it is already too late for them, and Chen runs through them with powerful punches as he knocks them to the ground mercilessly. While Cien is punching through the bad guys, Yin is busy enjoying the good music that her brother put on. One of them tries to launch a counterattack, but his hand is broken in the worst possible way. He screams out in pain, and while he is still crying about his arm, he gets punched hard in the face. The dude flies into 2 of his colleagues, and at this point, John is already losing his mind because this wasn't how he envisioned the whole thing. He never expected Chen to be this strong, but there is no way forward for them again because they've already wronged him and they need to pay the price for it. As Sikhan makes his way toward him, he tries to make a stand, boasting about who he is. But a punch to the face disfigures his face immediately as blood splatters everywhere. The force from the punch is powerful enough to send him flying into the distance. But before he even lands, Si-chun meets him halfway, delivering another punch to his head that almost shatters his skull. Jun's teeth fly out of his mouth. But this is the least of his worries as he crashes into a wall head first. With his head turned upside down and his torn trousers overshadowing his manhandled body, Cien walks toward him, reminding him that he warned him not to bother him. Sean picks up the knife that John dropped, and he raises the knife toward him with an overwhelming killing intent while asking him if he is too deaf to understand basic comprehension skills. Tears drop from Jay's eyes with the realization that Psych-chun's test results were real and he is about to lose his life because of his arrogance. He apologizes to Cien, but Cien tells him to shut his mouth, assuring him that a single sound from him will cost him his life. Jen can see the seriousness in Sechen's eyes, which tells him that Chen is definitely not lying. The amount of killing intent radiating from Chen's body leaves Jan asking himself if Cien is truly a regular student. Cien then tells Jian that he should make sure he adheres to everything he is about to say. Cien tells him that no matter what, he and his gang should never come near his family again. He tells John that if he so much as appears in his sister's line of sight, he is going to kill all of them without hesitation. After delivering this fierce warning, Cien drops the dude and walks back to his sister, who is still busy enjoying the music. In fact, the song is so good that it causes her to shed tears. Even though she saw her brother some days ago, this song makes her feel like he is going through a lot. Just when she's about to yell at her brother, she turns around to see her brother holding a gift box, telling Yun that it is for her. Sitting in the box is a monolographic drawing pen, and Yun is left totally in shock because it is even the latest model. Yun grabs the pen in shock, saying it is over 10,000, and she asks her brother where he got the money. Yun stares intently at the pen, wondering if they should just return it because it is pretty expensive. Unknown to her, her brother had made a secret vow to protect her no matter what. Meanwhile, John and his gang members are packed behind trash cans while they beg for help. Upon arriving home, Yin tries out the pen, and she is blown away by it since it can even draw holographic images out of thin air. Cien is also happy that his sister liked the pen. But while Cien is having fun with the pen, Chen is enjoying fried egg noodles that his sister cooked. After he is done eating, Yin reminds her brother that they still have rent to pay, so they can't even be spending lavishly. Sitchin shocks her, telling her that he has already paid the year's rent in full. Yin is shocked to hear this, and Sikhan tells her that he went into a small business partnership with a friend, and he made some money from it. However, his sister doesn't believe this since she knows how much of a liar his brother can be. Nonetheless, she is glad that her brother is smiling because she hasn't seen her brother smile like this in a long while. Yin then moves closer to her brother to offer him comfort, telling him that no matter what happens, he should make sure he doesn't push himself too hard. Later on, Ting learns about what happened to John, and he is surprised because 60% of his body was fractured, and even the best healer that they have can't make him recover within a month. Ting mentions that he never thought Jian would go after Chan only to get mopped up. One of Ting's subordinates tells Ting that with the way things are, Jian is going to miss the graduation assessment. Ting replies that he doesn't really care about this, because it just means that his team is missing a burden with trash skills. Just then, Ting's uncle, Gong Xuan, enters the room. Juan is the director of employment at the university. Juan tells Ting that he has personally confirmed the internal results of the last rank test, and it is confirmed that he is C rank. He tells Ting that he is the only guy in the whole school with a higher rank than him. Juan mentions that Ting's father has invited the vice chairman of the alliance to observe his graduation performance, and because of this they can't allow anyone to steal his shine. Juan plans to step in to help, but Ting tells his uncle that he worries too much, asking him if he really thinks he used his full strength during the test. Ting tells Juan that he doesn't have to worry, promising that on the day of the combat assessment, he is going to let everyone know that he is the true strongest. Later that night, Chen returns to his dorm after he finishes his 100 kilometers training procedure. Chan is relieved that he has solved his money issue, and with how smoothly things are, he believes that he should be able to launch the official plan after graduation. However, his next task is to successfully win the 1 million champion scholarship from the graduation assessment and pay off the loan from Shi. Chan aims to honor the contract with Shi no matter what because he has a lot of things to ask him in the future. Chan lies back on his bed thinking about the assessment, which is less than a month away. He decides to sleep and level up in the dream layer as many times as he can before then. Upon entering the dream layer, Sikhan heads to the tower. Based on his test result, he knows that his weakest class reached C rank, but his strongest class, the Rakshasa, failed to display. Even though Rakshasa is shrank, he can't utilize its full power just yet. This leaves him wondering how much power he can unleash. This basically tells him that the ranks corresponding to the remaining two classes, the Lightning Assassin and Rakshasa, are unclear. However, he plans to test it out in the tower. And using the key, he opens the door to the next floor. He wonders what the scenery inside the magic tower will be like. And the moment he steps in, he is shocked. Sin falls to his knees because of the immense gravity on the floor. Apparently, the floor is a fallen star, and the surface gravity is 10 gs. Since the door he came in through has vanished, he realizes that he has to eliminate the floor's boss to open it again. In the environment, he knows that he can unleash only 30% of his strength at most. Chen realizes that he has to adapt to the floor as fast as possible. And just then, a beast, the Phantom Lion, a B-rank warrior, emerges. Cien immediately switches classes to the Lightning Assassin class. As he prepares to engage the beast, the lion jumps at him and he tries to cut him, but he misses. He realizes that his body is so heavy and he has to find a way to end things quickly. Chen goes after the lion again and he tries to hit it at a vital spot, but he fails. This is thanks to the high gravity, which has severely impacted his speed and attack precision. Chen is worried that the assassin class has lost almost all of its advantages, but the lion is moving with ease. Sikon wonders if what he is currently facing is the monster's strength level inside the Purgatory Magic Tower. Before he knows it, he gets bitten on the arm, and before his arm is crushed, he switches to the Rashasa's class. Surprisingly, he realizes that different classes have different core advantages, and close-quarters combat must rely on the warrior class with its high strength and stamina bonuses. With Rakshasa's strength, he is able to break free, and he punches the lion to the ground. He then increases his strength level to the max thanks to the high gravity on the floor. Chen increases the power of his punch by 60 times, and he delivers a powerful punch that shatters the ground with the beast. Chen exhausted almost all of his strength, but he was able to kill the beast with the single most powerful punch he could conjure. Chen lies on the ground, totally exhausted, and he levels up to level 11. And he is also given a star. Basically, every star on the card represents a multiplier of the stats, and the more stars, the higher the strength after class change. The Purgatory Rakshasa has more stars, which means the amplification is higher, and he figures out that the rank after class change should be higher than the Lightning Assassin. Sikon is surprised that taking down a B-rank monster took everything he had. He realizes that both of his current classes haven't broken through the B rank limit yet. Just then, it dawns on him that the system didn't show the devourable mark after he killed the monster. In addition, the gate to the next floor hasn't opened, which immediately tells him that he hasn't killed the floor boss after he just killed a single monster with all of his strength. Just as he feared, a portal opens and a bunch of phantom lions emerge from the portal. Before he knows it, a lion grabs onto him, biting down on his shoulder really hard. He is still trying to free himself when the rest of the mob latches onto him, cutting him with claws. This is when he understands the true meaning of Rakshasa's words, which tells him that once the door opens, what is going to welcome him is endless pain. As the beasts tear into him without mercy, Sikon remembers Rakshasa's words that he must endure everything. The beasts tear into him till he wakes back up in real life, panting like crazy. He realizes that everything he feels in the dream world is just like the real world. He realizes that to become stronger, there are no shortcuts, which means his lonely journey to conquer has only just begun. Later on, the students head to the auditorium for the team formation ceremony in preparation for the graduation combat assessment. And heading the panel is Juin. The students learn that the higher-ups are coming to watch the graduation combat assessment, and they realize that this is why the rules for the year's assessment have changed. Apparently, in the previous years, there were no minimum requirements for team size or rank. But this time, every team must have at least 5 members. However, one of them must be high E rank or above. This leaves everyone wondering if this is going to improve the entertainment value. But it appears that has something else in mind. Just then, Jan tells the students that the instructions for the assessment have already been sent to their wristbands. He tells them to check their wristbands and complete their team formation as soon as possible. Everyone quickly checks the information sent to them. And just then, Malong notices something weird. On the information panel, it has been stated that Chen is only a low-tier E rank. Everyone is shocked by this, since Chen's test showed a C rank. Most of the students immediately concluded that the test result was fake because the demon heart glitched out. With this, it is pretty obvious that no one would want to team up with him since the graduation assessment is so important, and no one would want to carry a few low-level deadweights. The students start making fun of him because he rejected Ting's offer. However, Ting already knows that his uncle had a hand in what is currently happening. Juan smiles heavily as he plans to show his nephew that there are things that require power, and he plans to make sure that Ting's opponents don't even have the qualifications to compete. All the students start rushing over to Ting, asking him to add them to his team while mentioning their achievements over the years. One even asks to be Ting's lapdog, showing how desperate they are to be included in Ting's team. Chun is forced to become security for the team, telling them to back off because they can only take one more person in the team. 30 minutes later, they formed a team, and other people had also formed teams. However, Sun and his comrades remain without a team. Zwa cries in horror because they only have 4 students on the team and they need at least 5 guys. Zwa wonders if this is how they are going to miss the graduation assessment because they couldn't get themselves a team. Malong mentions that the whole thing is weird because Sekchen's rank is definitely not the lowest. Xiangyu mentions that there is a possibility that their dorm is being targeted. It is known that the assessment is everyone's chance to show what they are capable of doing and to get a good job opportunity. In the final assessment, the number of monsters in the demon's lair will be determined by the number of team members. However, it doesn't necessarily mean that the more people one has on a team, the easier it is to get a high score. Nonetheless, even if other students can't get into Ting's team, they're still not willing to group themselves with low-rank people like him. Malong, and you're basically the lowest low E rank in the whole school. Suddenly, another team shows up asking Zwa to join their team because they are only missing one more person. They remind him that if he doesn't join them, he might not qualify for the graduation assessment. Seeing this, Cien realizes that they are about to be abandoned by everyone and they will eventually lose their qualification to compete. Surprisingly, Zwa tells the suitors that he is not interested because he and his guys already promised to stick together. So, there is no way he's going to abandon them. Even Shin is surprised when Zwa rejects the dudes who want him and the guys flip him off, telling him to do whatever he wants because he is definitely going to regret it. In no time, almost everyone has formed a team, leaving Malong and his team of low rankers. Even though they're only missing one person, there's no one ready to join them. Chen then turns around to stare at Jan, and he realizes that he is a C-rank warrior. Suddenly, it dawns on him that Jan has the same surname as Ting, which obviously means something. Sitchin wonders if the dude thinks he is a threat to Ting. This lets Sitchin know that those with power get to do whatever it is that they want to do. However, this doesn't concern Sean because he is prepared to participate in the graduation assessment. Sun loses his cool and switches to his lightning assassin class with the aim of taking a route no one really wants to take. The moment lightning starts to course through his body, everyone knows that something is up. Basically, assessments are not the only way to prove one's strength. And this is because the Awakener schools have always had a special tradition to facilitate students' mastery of their classes. Apparently, students can initiate a one-on-one challenge to prove their strength in front of everyone. However, many refuse this. But Chan is pretty sure that Ting won't refuse. Cien is on the verge of challenging him when Lingyu enters the room, asking Chan if his team is still missing people because she would like to join. Lingyu mentions that she wants to participate in the school's graduation assessment that year, revealing that she already reached Dankback in middle school, so she's pretty sure she is not going to be a burden to the team. The students freak out when they see this, since Lingyu is not just any random girl. Even Chun yells at her, asking her what the hell it is she is trying to do. Apparently, Lingyu is an exchange student from another school, and the students are surprised that she is willing to participate in their school's graduation assessment. They know that she has a mysterious aura behind her, but it is pretty obvious that she is a genius. Even Jan is losing his mind when he sees this, and he tells Lingyu that as an exchange student, she is technically not qualified to participate in their school's graduation assessment. He adds that since Lingyu transferred to their school, she hasn't taken a rank test, and he has never seen a test report that proves her rank. Juan tells Lingyu that her participation in the assessment is against the regulations. Suddenly, Elle appears in a room via teleportation powers, shocking everyone in the room as he speaks out. Long agrees with Juan, saying he is right, and he reminds Lingyu that she is only at the school for a short exchange, so she can't join the fun. Even Cien is completely shocked because he's always known that the principal is a warrior, but he never knew that he has teleportation abilities. Long tells Lingyu that if she participates in the test, it is going to ruin the fairness of everything because the assessment only has meaning if real strength is shown. Lingyu nervously agrees with him, and Sikhan tries to check their ranks. But even the Demon Heart couldn't display their ranks since they have a giant question mark sitting on their heads. Excitedly agrees with Long, saying their school has such prestige because they have always followed the rules. Long then mentions that the purpose of the university is to cultivate superclass awakeners and give them the best stage to display themselves to ensure a continuous and stable supply of awakener talents to the world. He explains that the graduation assessment is a tradition of decades, and it is also one of the most important turning points in a student's life. He asks how the school is going to take responsibility if a student loses the opportunity to showcase what they can do thanks to some stupid special factors. The moment he hears this, he realizes that Long is throwing a jab at him. He's surprised to hear this, since Long has never concerned himself with the affairs of the school. This leaves him wondering if Long is doing all of these because of Chan. Just then, decides to back off because nothing good is going to come out of arguing with Long. With this, he knows that this is where his help for Ting stops. Basically, the high-ranked students have all formed their teams. So, Chan is left with trash, and with this, is confident that Ting should be able to win the assessment. Then, bows his head to Long, telling him that he is right, admitting that the employment office's lack of consideration has caused some students to be left out. Juin then changes the instruction, saying teams with fewer than 5 members or teams without a high E-rank member can also submit their registration. He mentions that the doors of the graduation combat assessment are open to everyone. With this, Sun and his team form a team, and Zwa celebrates because they finally have what it takes to participate. Malong eggs forward, telling him to be their captain, and on the other hand, Long lets Lingyu know that he is surprised that she has a strong interest in Chen. On one side is the strongest team in the school, led by the strongest guy in the school, while on the other is Section and his 3 bot teammates. Long is curious to see which demon layer they're going to choose and how many points they're going to score in the end of it all. After the team formation is finally complete, the old examiner tells the students to pick the demon layer that they want. Just then, he receives a notification that a team has already made their pick, and he is surprised that they didn't even waste time. Everyone is left in complete shock when they realize that it is Chan. However, the main shock hits them when they realize what sect Chan chose. Even Ma Long and the rest of his teammates yell at him, asking him if he's gone crazy. But Chan remains unfazed. Apparently, the graduation combat assessment is the first time students form teams to enter a real demon lair, and students obtain points by killing monsters inside the lair. For completion rate, the students are awarded 10 points, but 1 point is deducted for every surviving monster. As for killing the boss of the lair, they are awarded 20 points, but there is no point whatsoever for failure. There is also a completion time, and if the students can clear in 1 hour, they get 20 points, but after 1 hour, 1 point is deducted every 5 minutes. Basically, different Devil's Cave ranks have different raid difficulties and different score multipliers. An F-rank demon layer gives a 1.5 multiplier, and an E-rank gives a ×2 multiplier. If an F-rank demon layer is chosen, the max score the students can obtain is 75 points. However, an E-rank demon layer can help reach 100 points. It is said that the team that gets the highest score will receive an Empire Guild offer. The team's MVP will also receive a management position at the Empire Guild and 1 million bonus. The highest score in history is 90 points, and it was created back then by the school's genius, the current leader of the Empire Regiment when he graduated. This basically means the difficulty of an E-rank demon layer is huge, and it requires at least 3 D-rank awakeners to raid it. However, for the current year, they believe that Ting might actually challenge the school's history record. Even Ting is watching what demon layer to pick when they realize that Chen has picked a D-rank demon layer. However, his team members still have to confirm their agreement to fully accept the selection. Meanwhile, his team members are freaking out when they see this, and they ask Chen if he's gone crazy because there is no way he would go ahead and pick something like this. Zhua grabs his head in frustration, wondering how he managed to get into the same thing as a madman. Zhua starts asking himself if it is not too late to leave the team, and Ma Long rushes over to ask Chan if he is aware of the fact that he picked a D-rank demon layer. Chen assures them that he is aware and he has already thought about it over and over again. Surprisingly, Ting picks the same rank as Chen as he is not about to lose out. However, all of his team members agree to this immediately while Chen's colleagues are losing their minds. Everyone watching believes that it is going to be a good year for a nice battle. However, they all assume that Chan is a loser who doesn't even know his own capabilities,